Use Chaptgbt. The reality is time has changed, and technology is only going to improve, so why not use it to your advantage? Chaptgbt is an online free AI tool that you can ask questions to and it will spit out the answers right out to you. Now be mindful of what you ask because Chaptgbt is an AI. It will not always be correct. But for example, let's say you come across a passage you are reading and you do not understand what the author is trying to tell you. Whether that's the author using big words or going on rants, because authors do that. You could take a picture of the book page that you do not understand fully and go to your camera roll and copy and paste it into Chaptgbt and ask, what is this passage saying? If you want, you could even say, make it easier to understand, and Chaptgbt will allow you to take big complex text and keep the same meaning while making it easier for you to understand. Do not feel embarrassed to do this because as time goes by, people will find out and will start using Chaptgbt to help them read, and you do not want to be left in the past. So use Chaptgbt. It is a game changer if you use it correctly. Use online resources like YouTube videos, Reddit, because let's be honest, whatever you are reading, I'm sure there is a YouTube video out there that can help you understand the book. For example, a guy who helped me was Michael Segru. He has great YouTube videos ranging from all types of topics. On YouTube, you can find almost anything and he will have a lecture on it, like Friedrich Nietzsche or Marcus Aurelius. He has a video called Meditations, and it's probably one of my favorite videos in the world. I highly recommend that you check out Michael Segru. Reddit has a lot of information as well. Look up every word you do not know. This is a very good tip. Instead of trying to bypass the word and move on, you should just look up the word because I'm telling you, you will run into the same word over and over and it will frustrate you because you do not know what that word means. I used to get so annoyed when I would read and I would not know a word and I would try and skip it, but every time I had to look it up and find out what that word really meant, because looking up a word one time will not stick into your brain. You really have to understand whatever that word might be. For example, tranquility is a word I see a lot, and at first I wasn't sure what this word meant, but now I do because I kept running into this word. And I had to really do my research so I could fully understand this word. If you see a word you do not know, just look it up. It will save you a lot of time in the long run. Do not try to bypass it. Reread books. This might sound like a common sense tip, but when you first read a book, this is basically you dipping your toes inside the water to get a feel for it. Now when I say this, I do not mean skim read or fast read, because that is going to hurt you in the long run. Instead, you should deep read the very first time and then go back and read it again and really try and understand what the author is trying to say or tell you. Because for example, when I read a classic book like The Art of War, I missed a lot of big points, and probably the whole book in general, because I read it once. I never got the big message that has impacted so many people's lives. There's a reason why at every bookstore you go to, you see The Art of War everywhere. Honestly, I have to read it again because I notice when you reread books, you are not only sticking it inside your mind, you also catch things that you might have missed the first read, or you can really relate to the book on a deeper level because you understand what the author is telling you. For example, I have to read The Republic by Plato, and Michael Segru talked about how you cannot read this book once or even twice to get the main conclusion or point. You have to read this book 3 or 5 times to really understand this book. What I'm trying to tell you is that if you don't reread a book, you're just hurting yourself in the long run. You should always reread books, especially if they're a classic or a book that is nonfiction and has a lot of very important information in it. Make time to read. This honestly should have been the first tip, because reading does take time. I see a lot of people talking about reading a page a day, and the truth is that would not get you anywhere. You should be reading a lot. Doing a few pages a day, you just won't stick with it. The harsh truth is reading takes time, and I mean a lot of time. And if you really want to build your vocabulary and expand your knowledge, you have to make the time to read. For example, a book called Thucydides is around 600 pages, and this book is very complicated. I have not read it yet, but when I do read this book, which will be soon, I will have to make the time to sit down and really dive into this book. Because something that really sat with me was Michael Segru, when he said something like, "The books are not going to read themselves." And I think that is a very important lesson in life, is that if you want to learn something, you have to be willing to make sacrifices. Because reading does take time, and it is not an overnight thing. Unless you read like a speed demon for hours and hours, which, as I said in my previous tip, speed reading is not a thing. That is called reading just to put the book down and not take anything from it. You will not learn anything if you speed read. Reading is slow and really trying to understand what the argument or the conclusion the author is trying to tell you. And sometimes this will be hard to find out, especially when you start to read even harder books. I hope you took something from this video that you did not know at first. And yeah, just remember that reading is long and does take time. And if you do not like reading, just keep looking, because there is a book out there just waiting to be read. But that's really all I have to say. Be sure to give a like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed. This was a short video. Later.